Dragon, I've noticed the potentials and possibilities of stepping into greater and greater love, and I'm feeling that and the expansion of it. But at the same time, when I allow myself to surrender to more love, I feel my mind coming in with such vigor, with such determination to bring me back to a limited perspective. And I'm noticing it more and more, which I imagine is a wonderful thing because I can see it. But how do we really break through that mind perspective and allow ourselves to fully move into that surrender?
And we recognize you have within you the answering. You recognize that when you are expressing yourself in that way, that expanded state of being, then the mind will step in a sense of desperation. So that's you defining it as the mind gets busy, the mind gets louder. It's just desperately defining the experience and desiring you to step back into a place that's safe. So you can recognize that the most powerful way of moving forward and moving beyond is within that realization, within that I just choose this path. I amplify it more and more. Because it's also the mind that will perceive you to recognize that, I'm feeling the I ams, I'm feeling into the love that I am, and I'm feeling that joy and celebration, and it will align it to where you cap it off and say, well, that's as expanded as I've got, and or that should do things, that should shift things. In my experience, that then I'll see the changes. The mind just plays within that. It aligns with that you are on that breakthrough understanding. So it does not want that. It says, well, that's as far as it goes, and you are expressing it and aligning to it, but then it peaks, and it will find any way to then play into that moment to say, well, I lined it that far. You've stepped into it in that understanding, but there's that moment. So it's feeling that. It's bringing forth that love to say there is no boundaries. It's eternally expansion in its most magnificent awareness of self. So I expand more. I'm not reaching that idea of I've got to that moment. I've got to the top of the hill and I just want to expand more, and you know that feeling, you know that understanding, and it's like, oh, I just feel like I'm about to break through, I'm about to explode into magnificence, and it's not quite there. It doesn't happen. It's happening. I reach that perfect moment. I reach that perfect moment, and I'll celebrate that, because that's where I had to be. There was not a step more. It was like, that's what I reached for, and I got there, and now it's more, and it's more, and it's that you give your energy to. It's that a greater sense, that excitement. Feel that moment, and give it more of that. It's not giving energy to that mind that is desperately calling you into a limited state. Because many would give in. They accept that, I've tried that. I got to there, but it didn't achieve anything for me. It wasn't supportive, and their mind quickly aligns back into the positioning that is that limited self. You'll find a greater discomfort because of you realizing what you have learned in the understanding of the truth, in that sense of the potentials to be a greater expression. So you're stepping in there and stepping in there, and it's that, this is uncomfortable. Oh, there, I'm right there, I'm right there. Now the chatter gets louder, and I'm allowing it to cause a discomfort or an attention in a way that is not where I was focused. So it's all about presence in that moment. It's all about, here I am, and I'm at the most magnificent aspect of who I am, and I'm becoming more, and I'm becoming more. It's an infinite light that gets brighter and brighter and can never be, that's the brightest I can be. It's not possible. So feel back into that. So it's just, that's my journey. It gets better, it gets better. More exciting, more exciting. The celebration isn't a celebration of the one big party and that's it. It's a celebration that is a vibrational aspect that then has its flow, so it can only attune to be a greater celebration, a greater celebration. What is nice to recognize as we are speaking of this, that when the mind brings you back, and those times we have spoken into thank you mind for what you have brought forth for me, we would say, then you are in a vibrational aspect of self that does not require that, because that still gives attention to the mind, still places it into a, there's the mind. It's an aspect of self, but it's a form of separation in that way, where when you are in the presence of who you are and you say, I'm just becoming more, I'm becoming more, there's no separation. That's your true power. That's the navigational skill within that knowing that the oneness, I can attune myself to whatever I desire. When I find myself within the mind story, then it's a separation story, and it's taking it out of my control in that sense. Something else is at the awareness of navigating myself through an experience that is not what I was calling forth. And then it becomes those small things. And the mind's happy with small things because you do not give it too much attention. You just, oh, well, I'll just accept that for the moment, that for the moment. And humanity does that, and it gets back on track with the story of limitations. I'm okay where I am in that sense, and that is only to be recognized in a very short moment in the desires of becoming the energetic version in the place of excitement and celebration.
So how do we move from receiving what we would perceive as smaller things and really step into the flow of all that is and all that we have called for? That grand freedom, that grand prosperity, that grand knowing of self.
So you can be playful, you can recognize that you are asking in the idea of the mind, and it will feel like it's a separate story. I'm trying to bring something to me. I'm trying to call something forth. I'm wishing for something that is not of what I am. It's that you can feel into. It's the experience. So I will attain it through an action that is then recognize that that's my value. And then you'll see the understanding of the experience. Everyone is perceiving and receiving through action their value. My self-worth. So once you are then in that true awareness that that's not the story, that's not how it's to be, then you recognize that just being in that frequency of value, the value is attuned to a place that is recognized in the resonance of joy and freedom and celebration. So you give yourself the opportunity to say, well, I'll just play in freedom, I'll trust in that. the more freedom I can tap into, the more valuable I become. But when you are in joy and celebration, then there is no questioning about requiring to up the value. You're just this infinite realization of containing it all. You're in an absolute state of freedom and financial flow that is there for you as you in every moment.
Because that's a reflection of that vibration of celebration and
Has to
knowing your
be.
freedom.
That is so.